Welcome everyone, I'm Brandon Schaefer. Thank you for joining me for today's video. I'm going to be drawing a portrait of the woman you see here on the left. That's my reference photo that I got from Pinterest. And for this portrait, I'm starting out with a circle. This is the Loomis method, starting out with a circle, and then I use a line for the brow ridge, which lines up to the top of the ears, and I use a centered line down the face to determine where the nose and the middle of the mouth is. And then I draw big circles for the eyes. This is kind of the eye sockets, a circle for the tip of the nose, and a line for the mouth. So pretty generic. This is a very basic, generic way to draw portraits from any angle. And after I get this face drawn in and the features, at least the very basic ideas of the features laid in, I go ahead and I start drawing the rest of the portrait. I start drawing the clothes and kind of this neck scarf that she's wearing. And I just focus on overall drawing the entire portrait. And I do my best to make my lines as direct as possible. I try not to go over them too much or be too sketchy. When I make a line, I try to just make a line and leave it as best I can. Now, I do have perfectionist tendencies, which you'll probably see throughout this process, and it's something I'm still working on trying to get rid of. Nobody's perfect here, right? Hopefully. But I kind of have some perfectionist tendencies. I kind of go over my lines too much. I just worry a little too much about making it look too much like the reference. So those are kind of my things that I'm working on, trying to improve. And the more I keep doing these portraits and things and practicing, I can see myself improving and getting better. So now I feel like I'm at the stage where I got it blocked in and I want to get a little more detailed now. I feel happy about it. So I'm just going to erase some of the guidelines real loosely. I still have some of it there. I can see the structure still there. So that's why it's important to draw light in the beginning. A lot of these guidelines, like the eye sockets and the nose, all that kind of stuff, you can still see a ghostly image of it there. And that's going to be helpful here in a second when I start drawing more of the actual features. And see, I'm spending too much time drawing the hairline and all this little stuff. It doesn't really matter. I need to just focus on the big shapes. And sometimes, I'm not perfect. I get lost in these smaller shapes and little details when I shouldn't be focusing on them. So we can't be too harsh on ourselves. We have to realize, look, we're not perfect. Sometimes we get tunnel vision. Sometimes we focus on the wrong things at the wrong time. It's gonna happen. All we can do is just do our best in the moment and try to create a nice drawing, have a good experience. And see, I feel like I'm just focusing on getting the lines like too perfect. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. Anyway, let's start drawing in some of these features because this is really the most important part of the actual portrait. This is what really matters. So drawing in some eyebrows there, real nice, loose and soft, and some lines for the top of the eyelids, and kind of a double line there for the eyelid. Quick bottom line for the eyelid, and now I'm going to draw in the pupil or the iris, colored part of the eye. And that's really all it takes to make eyes. Very generic, simple eyes. You can even, if I wanted to, I could even make them more simple than this. But that's how I decided to draw them in this portrait at this moment. And I decided with this nose, sometimes I don't do it. A lot of the times I do it. I'll draw in the nostrils or the actual wing of the nostrils, like the sides of the nostrils there. Sometimes that structure is not necessary. You just have to put little dots for the actual breathing holes, like where the nostrils are. But since she is looking slightly downward at us, you can't just see the breathing holes, the actual nostrils. So I kind of drew more of the nose structure. That's just a personal preference. And then I just quickly drew in the lips there, of course. Most important part of the lips being the center line of the lips, where the lips meet, and then the line underneath the bottom of the lip. Those are kind of the most important lines to include. So I feel pretty good about the features. I mean, they're not perfect, but this is just a sketch. I'm not, my focus here, just to make it clear, my focus here isn't, not trying to make a complete likeness. I don't really need it to look exactly like her, like in the reference. It's not really what I'm going for. I just want it to look like a woman. I just want it to look human. I'm just having a fun, quick little sketch, 10 to 15 minutes. And I just want it to look like a natural portrait. That's all I'm really concerned about. Now, drawing this, there probably were times where these little tiny things I'm putting in now and I keep messing up and erasing, like these things aren't actually important. I'm spending too much time here being a perfectionist, trying to make it look like the reference when I shouldn't even be focusing on it. So that's just something to keep in mind. And it's something for me to keep in mind as well next time when I do a portrait or something, is just not focus on over focus on stuff that doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, I'm not worried about like the likeness. I just want it to look like a human. And that's something I'm going to try to focus on moving forward, is trying to make it look, these portraits look a little more generic, so to speak, and not trying to match them exactly. But really, at the end of the day, I'm just trying to have fun. So I'm just drawing in some lines for the hair, filling in some of the hair, giving a little more detail. And we can start to see this portrait's really coming together now. I feel really good about it. And now I'm going to start adding in some shading, trying to add some dimension to it. And I like to do hatching, which is just straight lines. And I like to do vertical hatching mostly. Something I'm just experimenting with for now. So I do some vertical hatching on the top lip, and I usually I make the top lip darker than the bottom lip for the most part, and I'll darken up the center line there and the edges, the corners of the mouth. And I like to do hatching on the bottom part of the nose, usually underneath part of the nose, and then also on the cheeks as well. It's kind of, these kind of hatching marks and things that I do, it's just to show form. I'm trying to show form a little bit more. And I also do above the eyes, trying to show more of the depth or dimension of the eyes. So these are kind of the main areas that I usually do shading or hatching on to show dimension. I'll also fill in the hair as well here shortly. You'll see that. So this is kind of part of the phase of the drawing where I don't really need to look at my reference as much anymore. And I kind of want to break free from the reference because I don't want to be like a slave to my reference. That's usually my goal. Although I can feel with this one when I was drawing it, I was a little too focused on making it look too much like the reference, which is not really a bad thing. I mean, it's okay. It's good to study from. But I could just tell with my lines, and I was being too careful, and it's just something personal I can tell with myself. So something you can try to use for your own drawings, try to figure out what are your goals when it comes to drawing portraits or drawing in general. Do you want it? Are you trying to capture a likeness? Try to figure this stuff out ahead of time before you draw from any kind of reference. Like, just think about what is your goal and try to solidify that in your mind and keep that as your focus. You know, what made you want to draw this particular thing? Try to keep that in mind, because it's something to easily lose sight of, because we get in the zone and then we just start drawing, and then we kind of forget these things that we had in our mind, forget our focus. So now I'm just filling in That little neck scarf that was dark. Needs some contrast here. I'm going to fill that in slightly. And I made her shirt there a little fuzzy. Give it some little marks to make it look fuzzy. And normally I like to darken up some lines, some key lines. I'm doing that with the hair here. I like to darken up the outline usually, make it a little bit darker. Some of the features like the eyes and the nose and stuff I'll make darker as well. Just kind of the key lines of the drawing, I kind of, you know, the shape of the face, the outline, the whole entire outline of it, the features, anything prominent, I try to just darken up a little bit more if I need to. You know, around the eyes. And you can see it's getting pretty close. I'm pretty happy with how this came out. Like I said, it doesn't look exactly like the reference, but that's not even my goal anyway. So we all have different goals for drawing what we're trying to achieve. And see, these last few marks, this is all just like basically unnecessary. I could pretty much call it done right now and be happy with it, but I'm getting a little too perfectionist here, but we all have it. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just filling in some last final details. And this is pretty much the end of the drawing. I hope you learned something from this. Post down below, what do you struggle with when it comes to portraits if you made it to the end? Let me know in the comments so I can make some videos in the future trying to help you guys out and create some interesting videos for you guys. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one. And I'll see you on the next video. We'll keep these portraits coming. Peace.